discussion because I have my own views on the question. Assessing China's future prospects, we find two contradictory views in the professional academic literature, a pessimistic one and a more optimistic one. Following the outbreak of the world financial crisis in September 2008, the pessimistic commentator expressed the view that China's exports were in dire straits, that real property growth did not actually occur, and that in order to compensate for these two lapses, the Chinese government was playing an ever-growing role in the country's economy. The crucial question, or shall we say doubt, raised therefore, was to what extent government spending could indeed make up for the two challenges: foreign consumers' inability to buy at the debt-supported levels of the past, and the rising unemployment at home, which affected real property growth. This somewhat discouraging analysis was added to, and indeed was compatible with, a similar pre-crisis analysis which concluded that China had already gone beyond its impressive yet conjectural development prosperity limits and was therefore on the threshold of an economic standstill, so to say the least. Of course, we have heard that this was not the situation. The optimistic approach, still maintained by most scholars who analyze China's economic prospects today, does not accept the pessimistic thesis. They laud the open-door policy launched in the 1980s and herald its subsequent achievements. They see the Olympic Games and the upcoming 2010 Expo that China will host in Shanghai as a springboard towards further development, a higher standard of living, and promising breakthroughs in numerous fields. According to these optimistic, but I would even say realistic, China watchers, future prospects are guaranteed. Concentrating on wider accepted economic indicators, the positive publications forecast an auspicious future for China. They envision an impressive China rising to becoming a major power, as we have heard, in fact the second largest economy after the United States. In many ways, it is argued China has been and still is less affected by the world crisis due to its more closed financial system, the tight control the government enjoys, and the inherent potential to divert economic and financial attention to the domestic area, for example, improvement of infrastructure. In other words, it can be argued that the call on governments in the West to become more involved, to tighten their control on their respective economies, increase financial spending at home, turn their backs on extreme liberal economies, opt for more planned and centralized policies, and in short play an ever-growing role in the country's economy, all these already exist in China. This, in fact, is China's non-debatable comparative advantage. As a sui generis socialist entity, it can easily retract from a too open market economy, something other countries find difficult to perform unreservedly. What is the relevance of this rather brief and to an extent speculative academic debate over China's future to Israel's foreign policy, perhaps even to its wider strategic long-range planning. And to Sino-Israeli relations, and to what extent Sino-Israeli relations are part of this calculation. In fact, I think there is relevance, and the answer is yes, it is part of the whole picture. I will argue that if China enhances its success story in the coming decades, successfully and relatively rapidly overcomes the negative effects of the financial, economic, commercial world crisis, and many other problems that China has got, and emerges as an ever-growing major power in the global arena, Jerusalem's future relations with China should incorporate a new and perhaps less traditional assessment. This is certainly so if, as Immanuel Wallerstein and many historians and political scientists have argued, the United States is in a geopolitical, shall we say, decline economically, politically, and even militarily. And I think it is time to say it out loud. Indeed, as we approach the end of 2009, it is quite clear that the United States has become increasingly entangled in its own economic morass. The huge budget deficit led to a massive increase in debt, both at home and abroad. The multi-billion-dollar bailout plan is likely to add to the domestic deficit. Since the government is spending far more than it receives in taxes, on defense spending, of course, including the involvement in Iraq and Afghanistan, the American economy, unlike the Chinese, is simply overburdened by strategic expenditures funded by borrowing at home and abroad. Moreover, not only is the government spending more than it earns, national saving rates have also fallen, in contrast to what we know the situation is in China. The subprime crisis in the real estate sector has ignited an additional crucial threat to the American economy. One could go on to mention the demoralizing level of currency reserve, again in total contrast to the data we have got at hand in both China and, of course, SAR, Hong Kong. In light of this situation, it seems quite obvious that the United States cannot expect to dictate its political line to China. In some respect, Beijing has even intimidated and is intimidating the planners in Washington by demonstrating a delicate yet firm response to Washington's intent to check China's global interests. Beijing continues to be present in South America, something that we tend to forget, and it is very significant in the long range, Saudi Arabia, Iran, and many other countries. Similarly, even though the American administration would have liked China to assume a mere secondary role in the Middle East, it seems that Beijing continues to invest in the region and is increasingly involved here. These are undoubtedly crucial developments to be reckoned with. If we analyze the historical background of Sino-Israeli relations from a 60-year perspective, examine the state of the current bilateral relations between the two countries in various domains, and try to evaluate possible future developments affecting relations between the two countries, located at the far ends of the Asian continent, it seems that we have no choice